Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America, continuing on with this video series on the changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors has made to their contract package for 2025. Please subscribe so you don't miss any in this series or any of my videos. I will link below in the description below. I will link all the other videos that I have done in this series, and it is in the playlist called 2025 GAR Contract Changes. We, through the Real Estate Academy of America, are teaching free 3-hour CE classes on all of these changes. So I will link the website for the school below. Feel free to check out our training calendar and sign up for a class. We are teaching them in December of 2024, continuing on into January of 2025. We are continually adding to our January schedule, so please check back on that website so you can sign up for a class. We're teaching them virtually as well as in person throughout all of Georgia. Not all of Georgia, but a lot of Georgia. So today, what are we going to talk about today? Today, I am going to go over the changes that GAR has made to the seller brokerage agreement. Not covering the agreement in and of itself, just the changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors has made from 2024 to 2025. So let me share my screen and we shall get started. All right, here it is. And just so you know, you can always tell what version of the form you're using because it will have 2025. It'll have the year there. And at the bottom of every page, it'll say 1/1/25. If there is ever a mid-year revision to a form, it will have an updated date at the bottom of the page. So again, this is F101, Exclusive Seller Brokerage Engagement Agreement. And these changes are the same with the non-exclusive as well. So the first change that was made is, as expected, to the compensation paragraph, A4. Generally, one of the universal changes I've mentioned in a previous video, throughout all of the forms, the term commission has been changed to compensation. So that's general, and this sentence was changed a little bit. I mentioned that in one of my other videos. The actual compensation paragraph, where the amount of money that a public seller is paying their broker for professional services, and whether or not whether or not the seller is paying a buyer's broker, that section has changed. So under paragraph, we're in major paragraph A4, and under subparagraph C, this whole paragraph has been changed. And I can show you actually what it looked like before. So hang on one second. I should have had this up for you, but let me show you what it looked like prior to this. In 2024, this is what the compensation paragraph looked like on the listing agreement. So all of those paragraphs have been changed, and now for 2025, it is simplified to stay in compliance also with the NAR settlement agreement that was finalized in November of 2024. So this says whether compensate. So this is the first paragraph. The second subparagraph is how much the seller is paying their own broker. That gets negotiated and agreed upon and signed, and that amount is expressed as a percent of the sale price, flat fee, or other, depending on what gets negotiated. That part hasn't changed. The part about compensating a buyer's broker from the seller side of a transaction. So under paragraph C, it states seller hereby approves of the following. Select all that are applicable. One, they are initially not offering compensation to the buyer's broker. However, marketing that the seller is open to receiving offers in which the seller pays compensation to the buyer's broker. So the seller saying, I'm going to not, you as my agent, you as the seller's agent, you are not to market the exact amount that I am willing to pay a buyer's broker. However, you can market that I am willing to pay a buyer's broker. We're just not telling the amount. The second subparagraph is compensation being paid to the seller's broker. So this is the seller saying, I've already decided how much I am going to pay a buyer's broker. And this is compensation being paid to the seller's broker by either the seller directly, in addition to the amount of compensation that the seller is paying their own broker, or compensation to the buyer, compensation being paid to, this actually should say buyer's broker. Buyer's broker from the seller directly, from the seller's broker, out of the compensation, out of this amount of money up here, or seller and seller's broker as set forth in the other section. And this is how much. So, and then, or the third term is no compensation is being offered or marketed to a buyer's broker. So in other words, the seller is telling you, their agent, you are not to market that I am going to pay compensation to a buyer's broker. Now, that doesn't mean the seller is not willing to pay a buyer's broker. It's just not to be offered or marketed that way. Listing agents, keep in mind, license law. I have a note for you here, specifically GREC Rule 520-1-.101. You must present all offers, regardless of which of these options a seller selects regarding compensation of a buyer's broker. If you get an offer where a buyer is requesting compensation from the seller side to their own broker, you must present that offer so as not to violate license law. The next change in the seller brokerage agreement is the protection period. GAR just added some verbiage so that our public sellers know what is protected. And it says the length of the protected period during which time broker shall be entitled to compensation under certain circumstances where this agreement has been unilaterally terminated by the seller or has expired shall be X number of days. So previously it just had the number of days. Now it explains that compensation is due. What are those certain circumstances? Those are all described in the corresponding paragraph B5. The next change is under paragraph B, further explanations of, to the corresponding paragraphs in A. They've just added the term unilaterally regarding if the seller warrants that they are not party to an ongoing exclusive seller brokerage agreement with another broker, that it has expired or has not been unilaterally terminated. Now, this subsection on marketing, paragraph B3, marketing, all of this verbiage, well, most of this verbiage has been there previously, but it was one big old huge long paragraph. So GAR, like they've done with other paragraphs in the past years, has separated out those terms to make it easier to read and understand and go over with a public seller. So all of these are under marketing, and it talks about generally who owns the marketing materials, liability for misinformation. Those are two new subparagraphs. But all of this other information has been there. It's just now divided out for ease of going through. This protection period, again, corresponds, these are the special circumstances under which a seller's broker's compensation is protected for those certain number of days These are the specific circumstances under which that is so. This new paragraph on lead-based paint disclosure, it's not new. The EPA has updated their regulations in April of 2024 regarding brokers' notifications to the seller regarding lead-based paint and what the public seller, what their obligations are under the EPA has now been spelled out. And this same verbiage, just so you know, is in a brand new GAR form, and that is form F318. That is one of the 9 brand new forms in 2025. And F318 is seller's broker's notice to seller of seller's obligations regarding lead-based paint. So the point is, if you have a seller that signs this exclusive seller brokerage agreement, you do not need F318. If you have a public seller that does not sign this, per the EPA's regulations, again, if the house was built prior to 1978 or there is a lead-based paint hazard within the house, you do need to make these disclosures to the seller regarding their obligations, and it's in this paragraph here that has been modified or this new form. Moving along, new paragraph. This is paragraph 6F. This came out in July 1st of 2024 because Georgia passed a new law that went into effect. And the new Georgia law is OCGA 217 that prohibits certain non-resident aliens, foreign persons, foreign companies, and U.S. companies owned by any of the above from buying or possessing agricultural land and certain land within a 10-mile radius of any military base, military installation, or military airport. Seller agrees to carefully read the entirety of the above referenced code section before contracting to sell such a land. Seller should consult with legal counsel to fully understand the law. If seller has not submitted written questions to the broker regarding the law to the broker prior to contracting to sell prohibited property, seller acknowledges that seller fully understands the limitations and requirements of the law, and broker shall have no responsibility for further doing the same. In such event, seller shall indemnify and hold brokerage harmless from any and all claims, causes of action, suits, and damages arising out of or relating to seller's failure to comply with the law. Violating the law can subject the seller to civil and criminal penalties. The law also requires certain sellers and others to divest themselves of such property within certain time periods if they are now no longer legally able to purchase such property. That was new in July of 2024. In 2025, GAR has created a new brochure. It is CB29. And let me show you what that brochure looks like. This is the new brochure in 2025. What buyers, sellers, and realtors need to know about buying agricultural land and land near military bases, installations, and airports. And it describes the law, how the 10 miles is calculated, who cannot purchase restricted land, so forth and so on. So this is the brochure that goes along that GAR has provided and created based on the new law that was passed in Georgia. Highly suggest if you are working with a seller or a buyer that meets these criteria, you absolutely want to make sure to get in their hands this new GAR brochure and make sure they have a great conversation with an attorney to describe how this new law applies to them. Then, as mentioned in one of my other videos about the universal changes, some of the minor changes throughout all of the forms regarding the GAR forms and how they are to be used and interpreted. Statute of limitations, again, one of the universal changes was changed from 2 years to 1 year. And based on that new brochure that I told you about, in the brochure section of the seller brokerage agreement, GAR has itemized GAR CB 29, what to know about buying agricultural land and land near military bases, installations, and airports. And then last but not least, again, one of the universal changes that GAR has made throughout all of their forms is above the signature lines. And we love that GAR has done this. If seller is a legal entity, this agreement must be signed by one or more authorized persons as required in the entity's legal documents. The person's signature must include the capacity in which the person is signing, such as trustee, general partner, manager, president, etc. Again, a universal change, but just wanted to show you where that is. So those are the changes to the exclusive and the non-exclusive seller brokerage agreement. I'm curious what you think. Comment below for further explanation. Take our classes. Thank you so much for watching, and check with your broker. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.